The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. You can finance, buy, protect, and enjoy your auto purchase all through one convenient place. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Never Quit podcast. My name is Andrew, hanging out in the studio with Marcus and Melanie today. Hello, how are you guys today?
Hi.
What's up? What's up? Hey, if you haven't already, guys, check us out on YouTube. We're dropping our episodes every single week on our YouTube channel. We've got 60, 70,000 subscribers, something like that. We'd love it if you join us there. And make sure you follow us on social media. You can stay up to date with everything we've got going on. Let's kick this thing off with the Patreon question of the day. If you have to sing karaoke, what is your go-to karaoke song?
That's a great question.
Are we all answering
thinking
this?
about
Everybody.
this. Yeah, everybody's got to
Okay.
go down
Yep.
this one, man.
I know mine.
Can I give two answers?
Please.
All right. Number one, I'm going to give a duet, and that's for my wife who's in the room, and that's These Eyes by the Guess Who. And this goes well. We'll maybe do a little rendition later on.
No, it's any guy in the military. If you can't sing, because I can't. I don't even sing in the shower. All right. I mean, that's a real thing, dude. From She's Lost That Love and Feeling.
Yeah. I mean,
She's Lost That
so
Love and Feeling
good.
because you got your buddy right there, whatever it is you're going to tackle. Yeah,
Top Gun throwback.
yeah, there you go.
Works.
I mean, just you're gonna have to sing good.
I'm a 90s era kid, so mine would be something R&B like Belle Biv DeVoe or or like Vanilla Ice or something like that.
Such a great song.
because
Ice Ice Baby. There's a shout out to Vanilla Ice.
yeah, I
There you
mean
go.
I'm totally a 90s kid, so
Because anybody can get away with singing that.
That's right.
yeah.
If I'm going solo, I'm going with Suspicious Minds by Elvis.
Oh, nice.
I love to belt that out.
Beatles are good. Yeah.
And you like Frank Sinatra?
Frank. Frank.
Frank.
Yes.
Frank.
That's what happens when you throw Frank in my head. Yes.
Yeah.
Frank.
What's the moon one that you always listen to?
Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly
Fly
Me to the Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's life's probably one of the best
That
ones.
is, yeah.
During quarantine, I don't know.
Jamming that one.
Old
He
school kick.
Listen to it every day. during quarantine.
Just want to learn how to slow down. I forgot how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. We forget how to do that.
Sure.
And it's nothing personal. It's just like even in the middle of the moment, there are some blessings that did come out of that thing. I would start prepping for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part of the book and the movie and usually the event is the end. I've already passed that. Even if I was present for it, I was past it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how they do that to us?
Yeah.
How does that happen? I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah.
And then, until we started fishing. And then I couldn't get out of that. And I mean, I wasn't thinking about anything. It was just, it kind of taught itself. It's like your mind just, in order to truly clear it out, you got to clear it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I got on them old school
Mhm.
Frank Sinatra and
I think it was my
the
grandpa.
Rat Pack and all them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big bands.
Yeah.
And sit there all day.
It's hard not to belt that out when you're feeling it.
Man,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
That was
That's a good
good, man.
Patreon.
Frank
Good,
Gillen,
good,
man.
good question. Hey, guys, if you want to ask your question to the guest, to the host, check us out at patreon.com/Team Never Quit. You get exclusive access to the show. We do live streams, ask me anythings. We send out a cool challenge coin, all kind of cool stuff. Check it out at Patreon. We've got a great guest in store today. Dr. Donnelly Wilkes is the founder of Summit Health Group and the author of Code Red Fallujah, which is the firsthand narrative of Wilkes' role in the Battle of Fallujah. Dr. Wilkes, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, pumped. You got to take us back and just tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your growing up. That way we can kind of set the stage for everything else that follows.
Because when you hear doctor, everyone automatically assumes, and I don't know why this
Yeah.
is, that you're born into that family. You live in
Yeah.
this huge house already, and people's like, you have to be a doctor. So that's not how this all works on all the time.
That's right.
No.
And I'll actually touch on that as we get into the story. But to start from origins, I was born in Los Angeles. When we were young, my parents moved to Northern California. That's where California keeps its rednecks. We were in a small
And
town.
it's beautiful. No one knows that, though.
Beautiful.
No
What
one knows
part
that
of
NorCal is
California?
awesome.
I mean, what town?
El Dorado County is the county. Placerville is the most well-known town. But you know how a bunch of little small towns, sometimes they fit together and it's
Yeah.
it's all called one thing. So my actual town was El Dorado.
Mhm.
Placerville is the kind of known town because it's off of Highway 50 as you go into South Lake Tahoe. So we're in the foothills
Mhm.
in Northern California, and loved it. It was great. 5 brothers, an older sister who came into my life later in my life. So that's another story for a different day. But we're 6, and I'm the oldest. I have an identical twin. I'm twin B. We were talking about that earlier.
It's different, right?
It's different.
Are y'all mirrors? So are you right-handed? He's left-handed.
Yes.
Okay, we're mirrors too.
We are. We're mirrors. And a lot of people don't know about the mirror
Don't know
thing.
what those are.
That wild?
It's funny as it is. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't know. It's kind of growing up and getting out and running to other twins.
Yeah.
Each one of us kind of holds one of those little keys,
Yeah.
kind of deal. And our brother's not from the womb to the tomb. We came into this world together. We're gonna leave it together. I was surprised. Back in the day, they didn't even know. Had no idea.
I was telling you earlier, the only way my mom knew was X-ray, 2 skulls.
Yeah.
Gosh.
We were. Y'all are close.
Real close.
Same. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. His name's Riley, and then it's John Michael Brady.
Nice.
So, anyways, raised there. We had some military roots in the family. In fact, we just saw today as we were driving in. Today, my grandparents, who are World War II, baby boomers, they were born on the same day, and today would have been their 101st birthday. So,
Aw.
kind of a
Nice.
neat little tribute to them. Jack and Kay Wilkes. He was a P-38 pilot, shot down in the war, North Africa, and crash landed, survived. Wonderful
Oh,
story.
wow.
My other
That's a great story.
Isn't that great?
And you say when we say it like that, some people are like, "What are you talking about? I got shot." I was like, "Dude, that's a great story." I mean,
Yeah.
because
Well, the fact that he survived
through all
yeah,
that.
that's
North
crazy.
Africa by the Germans.
It's not supposed to be one of those deals where you mope around about. I was like, no, you lived through that.
Talk about it. He raised the stars and stripes. My father built their house. He's a contractor, Michael Wilkes, and he built their house just down the street from us. And he'd raise the stars and stripes on his flagpole every day and
Aw.
retire them at dusk.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I've raised ours up, but I'm gonna start. That's under other laziness, right?
Yes, sir.
Not pulling it down at night. That shot was for me.
My father was a contractor. My mom raised us. That was her job. He applied for military service, was rejected for an injury, applied to get into sheriff's and police academies later in life, and did that, kind of a second career. So we had those roots growing up. My mother's father, Joe Zemba, he was also an Army guy out in Hawaii. So I never had, the thought from a young age that I'm going to join the military, but those roots were there. And as I went through high school and then entering college, I went to University of California, Irvine, and I was just going into college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I had interest in a lot of things, kind of dabbling in the medical world. I was talking with my dad one day out in the hot tub up on our lawn, and said, I might want to be a physical therapist. And Dad looked at me and was like, that's pretty good, but why don't you just be a doctor? And I said, well, it's a lot of school, Dad, But he's like, yeah.
That's everybody's first reply, isn't it? Man, it seems like an
Too
awful
much
lot of school.
But that wasn't good enough for him. He'd always push me to seek higher levels. And that was the first time it entered my mind. But as soon as he said that, I really didn't look back. That was my goal. Now, I wasn't always the smartest kid in the class. I just would outwork. And that doesn't mean I didn't do well and wasn't at the top of my class. But man, once you get to the top echelons of whatever you do, there's always somebody who's better.
Yeah, and in that world too, when they say medical, it's like speaking Greek, because it is, right?
Yeah,
That
different
whole
language.
terminology and everything. And you get into that world, especially with the body, because it's an unknown universe, right?
Yeah.
And once you get a good handle on A and P and how things work and how to bypass them and do all that, then you get into the thinking of like, all right, what is this thing really capable of? And when you're dealing with those guys, that shouldn't be a graded. That's not a graded thing, right? That's when the minds are supposed to come together.
That's right.
It's pretty cool to be around y'all when there's a bunch of y'all thinking like that.
Yeah, and that fascinated me, that unknown part, like you said. There's subcellular things that's we can't even see that, but that's how our body works. Those micro histology. Those are the courses where you kind of see those things that you can't visibly see with your eye, and it kind of takes you to another level. So I loved all that. I loved the science. I was a little bit of a nerd, a little bit of an athlete, and that just kind of pushed me to seek the next level of education. Plus, I was sick of working on the job with my dad as a contractor. So again, that pushed me into education. And I applied to numerous medical schools, had a tough time that first year. started looking at, well, what are some other avenues? How can I pay for this? That was another thing. And then a Navy recruiter got a hold of me and, pushed this brochure across the table. What do you think about the Navy, health professions scholarship? And basically you apply for it. If you're accepted, then they will pay for your medical school of choice.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
Great deal.
They got a
deal.
great program.
So I applied. I was accepted, but hadn't achieved acceptance to medical school yet. But I was on the hunt, and Tulane was one of them. The dean there really liked military medical students. He would take a few each year, look for them. So that was one of my strong applications, and I got in. So at that point, I said yes to the Navy, and it's one of those things where you are committing to 7 years of active duty service after medical school. And you don't know much about that life at all because you haven't even gone to medical school yet, but they're going to pay for it. And so that's the deal. And as soon as you graduate medical school after those 4 years, you're commissioned, but you have to make the commitment in advance. So that was throwing it on the line a little bit, but I made the right choice in the end. It suited me. It fit me. During medical school, they'd pluck the military students for a month out of each year while the others were taking a little rest and relaxation. They'd send us out to do various things. We'd go to our version of officer training at Newport, Rhode Island. The nurses and docs were there, put on the uniform, march around, yell at us a little bit. It's our version of boot camp. And then, another month, we'd go out to Texas and a couple other states and do some field, combat casualty care courses. And that's it. They're learning, teaching you how to prepare for life in the military.
What? Just quick. What do you think would work better, or does it work just fine for people to come in the military? Say, hey, look, I'll send you to college first, go get your degree, then you have to come in and serve, or do it the other way around, or both?
Yeah.
I mean, because if it was that easy, it's like, hey, come here, and I'll send you to school. Just get in there. Here's the money and everything. I mean, that would alleviate so much.
What worked?
Stress.
It would. And to answer your question, what worked for me and what they've done even more so now is they'll offer a stipend, kind of a signing bonus.
Yeah.
So you sign on. They've increased it a lot now, and you sign on.
No kidding. I won't get into that one, man. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. We should go back through.
I know. That's what I said.
Right? Just go back through the whole thing.
Better off. Plus, I didn't know what was going to happen to me.
Right.
Anyways, good signing bonus, and then I lived well during medical school. I had money to live in a nice apartment in New Orleans. I lived there for 6.5 years, and then on the other end, of course, was the commitment. So I think something up front to answer is the way to go.
I mean, you couldn't have lined us out any better, I think, program wise, because the movie we grew up with, just the overall attitude, it's kind of like, hey, it's almost like we were geared for it in the back of our heads. We didn't even know it. Children of divorce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that whole era when everything melted together, and then we get into a war with enemy with no face.
Yeah.
And you back that up, just getting us in is tough in some generations. Yes. But that whole, I'll never, coming out of, and all the guys coming out of the military that I see going to the universities now, crush it. It's not even a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's less than a thing. But coming out of high school, well, I guess there's your answer right there. Some people come straight out of high school and they're ready for further education. Some people don't know what they want to do. Man, sign up, go on an adventure, because that's what we went on.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Athletic Greens, the most comprehensive daily nutritional beverage on the planet. There are a lot of things in life that are going to stress you out, and that's going to keep you from maintaining your effective nutritional habits, giving your body the nutrients it needs to thrive. Whether it's a busy schedule you got, the fact that you're getting poor sleep, maybe you're not getting enough exercise, stress, simply not eating enough of the right foods, whatever it may be, it's not allowing you to be the best, healthiest version of yourself. And that is where Athletic Greens can help. Their daily all-in-one superfood powder is your nutritional essential. It is by far the easiest and tastiest habit you can add to your health routine today that's going to help you take ownership of your health.
A lot of us have that medicine cabinet in our house that's just got way too many bottles of outdated medicines and the thousands of supplements that you've bought over the years that you thought were going to make you the best version of yourself. They thought you were going to make you super strong or help you perform better or make your hair grow better. Whatever it may be, you got the counter loaded down with all that stuff. But you don't have to do that, because one tasty scoop of Athletic Greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, including a multimineral, a probiotic, a green superfood blend, and much more that are all going to work together to fill those nutritional gaps in your diet. It's going to help you increase your energy. It's going to help with focus. It's going to aid with digestion. And it's most importantly going to help you support a healthy immune system, all without the need to take all of those products that you've got filling up the cabinet. And I talked to the guys over at Athletic Greens, and they are continuing to obsess over their holistic formula based on the latest research. They've produced over 53 iterations over the last decade. They invest in the most absorbable and natural sources of each ingredient, and they're going above and beyond when it comes to third-party testing to make sure you guys are receiving the highest quality and best daily nutritional habit on the planet. It's lifestyle friendly, so if you're doing keto or paleo, or if you're vegan or dairy-free or gluten-free, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar. It doesn't compromise on taste, so it'll fit any lifestyle. And right now, they're going to hook you guys up. They're going to give you guys a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you guys need to do is visit our link. Whether you're looking for peak performance or better health, covering your bases with Athletic Greens makes investing in your energy, immunity, and gut health each day simple, tasty, and efficient. All you guys need to do is visit athleticgreens.com/TNQ. Join health experts, athletes, health-conscious go-getters all around the world who are making that daily commitment to their health every single day. Visit athleticgreens.com/TNQ. Get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. That's athleticgreens.com/TNQ. Get that free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. Make sure to check them out.
That's right.
Ultimately, you back it up. That's what it was.
That was an adventure. And, the Iraq brochure didn't exist when I was signing up.
No kidding.
it was, hey, you'll do a Westpac tour and, you might go on a ship or maybe do station overseas. But that all changed, when the Twin Towers came down.
So what year were you at Tulane?
I was a 4th year.
But what year was that?
Oh, that was 2001. I was a
Okay.
4th year. I had just met Katie on a trip back home, and I went back out to finish up my 4th year. And September 9/11, I was finishing my rotations and looking at the future. Had my choice of duty station. That was Pendleton Naval Hospital, and life was looking good. And of course, I didn't know exactly how, but that day, I'll never forget it. We gathered around a little TV station in the hospital as I was going on rounds, and just had this sense something big would change for me. We talked that night, Katie and I, and we both, kind of just shared our fears and sadness and the unknown parts of, the future of our lives. And it was everything and nothing like I expected. Let's put it that way.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that too. I was just finishing up with all my training.
Yeah.
Right when that dropped, kind of at the end of it, right when you were just getting to where it was like primed us in right for that launch. Because everything
Marcus did
kicked
18 Delta, which
kicked after
is
that.
the SF medic training.
Yes, I was reading about that, and you guys have a lot of medical training.
Oh.
I was impressed.
Like
The
he had to
best.
do
Wow.
rotations.
It was
in
the
hospital.
best.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, everything that was field trauma. But
Mhm.
when they would, so I went to Tampa Bayfront and worked in there. So we went everything from working in the ER to L&D. By the time I came out there, I had 17 babies underneath. I mean, I was dropping chest tubes. We were crikes. They would just do cut downs. And then they would send us out into the field to do the field training with the live tissue, which was the best.
Yes.
The only reason I got half them guys back alive was because of that.
Yeah.
And I know people protest that, but I was like, I'm telling you, it's invaluable. It was invaluable. And we had
pigs and
the
stuff?
cadaver labs and all, yeah. We had the cadaver labs and all that stuff. And that's how I learned A&P. And when you learn how the body works, it made me it makes us really proficient at taking a life.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how it functions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? And we teach each one of our guys that.
Yeah.
So as you were finishing up med school, same, he was finishing up 18 Delta, which is their
Same thing.
med school.
Yeah. The L&D thing, I read that and I just laughed at it because I was thinking, what on earth? Why on earth does a SEAL need to know how to deliver a baby?
Right.
Don't think that didn't come out of my mind either, because it's completely different when you're running in there. And it's like when we get strapped with the SF guys when they're living in the indigenous, because they have to do the foreign internal defense, the village ops, and there's a chance you could have to do that.
That's what made sense. You're out in these unknown parts of the world.
You never know.
Who knows? Yeah.
So when it came to the training with us, it was like, I guess the guy's like, hey, what if this happens? Well, like, man, let's just train them to do everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we were.
Yeah.
Even with you, our initial compounds that we came out was one thing. Once our wars kicked off, they dropped us into one spot and we just started melting together. Everything you learned that passed down through trauma made it to me.
Yep.
When I was pregnant with Axe, he's like, I can deliver him. I'm like, oh, hell no, that is not happening.
I got this.
I don't even want you like from waist down. You need to stand up by my head. You are not going to be involved.
That was mentioned a number of times with my wife. Hey, are you going to deliver? And I said, hell no. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't want to be there.
It's fine being there, but
Yeah.
last thing I want is if something goes wrong, it's on my hands.
Right? Oh
I was
my
getting
God.
upset because it totally switched on me with the first birth because she was in so much pain. So I was getting upset.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was
Something was causing her
so-
pain.
Yeah,
And when
bad.
kid first came out, I was like, oh, I loved my kid. I was kind of mad at him. Actually, I was like, hey,
He's like, you caused your
as
mom
it
so
caused
much
your mother
pain.
so much pain in the beginning. I was like, it was a fight. I mean, she didn't have. We're off topic, man. I'm sorry.
I know, but it's an unreal event. It's an unreal event. I've delivered 80 plus, and every single one is the most intense thing ever.
Yeah.
Unreal event. Females are amazing.
That the thing with y'all. Keep going because
All right.
when I was like, man, what you doing? Where you went and how that. We can talk all day on that one.
So I think I chose this life in the military, and I knew part of what that meant, but 9/11 changed it drastically. But even then, I didn't know how it was going to change things. So just to give you a little bit of the path after medical school for me, it's kind of cool. Graduation happens. We're in a big auditorium in New Orleans, and dancing down the aisles with the umbrellas and feel like rock stars. Just the best day of my life. And then the military students are, after the ceremony, called to a little side room. Naval officer sitting there. There's your orders sitting right there on the desk. You sit down, repeat the oath, and boom, that's it. You're in the Navy. And then you go celebrate, and everybody goes on their normal lives. So I obtained my match to my residency of choice at Pendleton. Got to come back to the San Diego area, live near Katy, and then it's residency. So for me, it was 3 years. In the civilian world, every physician has to go through.
You got to do your residency?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
At Pendleton.
That's cool.
Naval
At
Hospital.
least you got to do it though.
Right. And so part of it, and I'll explain as we go forward. And part of it was in San Diego. We'd go down there and train at Balboa. So every civilian has to complete all 3 to 7, up to 7 years, if you're super subspecialty of residency training under supervising, attending physicians to practice medicine independently. Military, for military residents, they can pluck you out. So they plucked me out after 1 year. Part of it was a request. Part of it I chose. I had a request, type thing. I could request, to go blue side. They told me I'm coming out. Blue side or green side. I said, I'm going to go green side for a few different reasons. So I knew I was going to go with the Marines. And so I chose that path. But I was a baby doctor, just 1 year internship training.
Oh, really?
Yep, just 1 year.
Really?
Post med school.
That's what you came out. What'd you go in as? What would you want? What did you want to start at? What kind of doc?
Family medicine, family physician / sports medicine.
Because they
Those are
always
my
say what
2.
you go in is not what you come out as, right?
Yeah,
I switch halfway. Is that true?
I was toggling between emergency medicine and being a family physician. That's in my head growing up in our smaller town. The family physician was the guy I looked up to.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to be. And so that was my residency at Pendleton for family medicine. But, internship year, that's kind of like, this is not a good comparison, but that's kind of like the buds, indoctrination. You're just put to the test. You're on call every third night. You're doing, 24, 36-hour shifts. And some people don't make it. Some people, after all of that work, medical school and everything, they don't make it all the way through. And
And that's to simulate mass casualties, right? ultimately for civilians is when they beat them down like that?
It's
If you get overrun or something?
Yeah, it's can you operate under pressure?
Because it is a buzz string. That's not an insult. I mean, my caduce is just as important. That's hard to get.
Yeah. It's can you operate under that pressure?
Yeah.
And being sleep deprived and doing procedures and really important things and do it well, and to your point when we were talking earlier about how things have changed a little bit and you got this kind of older guy mentality, they changed the rules after I went through residency to you can only work so many hours before you got to take a break.
Oh, I heard about that. They did that on a couple of things.
Yep.
And while I was in, I was like, man, I wish they would change this to this, right? And then the minute we had to go through it and they changed it, it was like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, now y'all aren't as tough as we are.
That's
and that's
right.
how that gets. It's like there's always something, right? Isn't that funny? That's hilarious.
And it's a little bit of a guy thing or a doctor thing. There's plenty of females I was with, and all of us who went through that, it just felt like, man, that badge of honor, it had been that way, internship and residency training for as long as I can remember. It's tradition in medicine. And so across the board, the residency board said, for some good reasons, that, hey, we've got to limit the hours. So they changed that. They have also since changed in the military. They will not pull residents out anymore for active duty like I was. So they pulled me out to go active duty because it's wartime. And they needed me.
Well, I got that. So we just have they went back to the.
They have to complete all the consecutive years of residency training before they can go on active duty. During my period and, the Iraq War, they plucked me after one. That's how I ended up with the infantry battalion out of Pendleton, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Wild Alaskan Company. Let me tell you guys, I started a diet a few weeks ago. I don't know if diet is the right word to use, maybe nutritional change or lifestyle, as they would say. And regardless, I've decided to stop eating so much bad food and start eating a little bit more healthy. And that being said, we should all be getting those omega-3s through fish. But the problem is, sometimes when you go to the grocery store and you look at the fish counter, it can be super intimidating. Which fish is going to taste the best? What type of cut should I get? How do I know it's going to be of good quality? I've gone into some grocery stores and the seafood section smells like garbage. And so this is really where Wild Alaskan Company shines. They take the guesswork out of buying wild-caught seafood. And that's because they deliver high-quality, sustainably sourced wild-caught seafood right to your door. You can choose from salmon, whitefish, or a combination of both. And every month, there are different specials to explore. My favorite thing is that each shipment is individually wrapped portions of delicious seafood that's ready to prepare and easy to cook. And for me, that's super convenient because as I get home and try to think about what I'm going to cook, knowing that I don't have to worry about trying to slice up this huge piece of salmon and figure out how, it's just too much work. I can come home, open it up, cook it, I'm good to go. It is incredible. Wild Alaskan Company seafood is how nature intended it to be, always wild, never farmed or modified, and it contains no antibiotics. You can adjust, pause, or even cancel your membership at any time, and they offer 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Get your nutrition from nature. You can do that with Wild Alaskan Company. And right now, they're going to give you guys $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit Wild Alaskan.
So I'm assigned to 1st Battalion, 5th Marines at Camp Pendleton. And I remember that day I go into the detailer's office and he says, all right, Lieutenant Wilkes, there's a few battalions you can go with. Some will be stateside for a while. Some are ramping up. Stuff's going down in the Middle East. He wouldn't say what. We knew it was in and around Fallujah and Ramadi and that kind of thing. And I had, just seconds to kind of, he was asking me what I would prefer. And I just kind of computed in my head, hey, I'm going no matter what. Let's just get this done. Let's just go. And so I said, ready, sir, let's do it. I'll go with whatever infantry battalion is ready to go soonest. He said, all right, that's great. Any other doctors that you would gel with in short order? Because we've got a battalion getting ready to go. And so I have my pool of fellow, Navy docs. And I said, yes, sir, Lieutenant O'Connor. You'll have to ask him how he feels about it. But him and I, we're pals and roommates from Tulane. We're in internship together. He's the guy I think I want. And so I just remember kind of chuckling. Hope Cormac's okay with that. So he brings in Lieutenant O'Connor. No.
You didn't ask him? Oh, what a hookup.
No, I didn't ask him.
Dude probably wanted to stay back in the rear, right? I didn't know.
But it was just the honest truth, and I knew we were going to be going into some serious situations, and he was my bro. So he was ultimately fine with it. He told me. And plus, he gets to hear his name on this podcast. So you're welcome, Cormac. Love you, buddy.
So it was all worth it. I don't understand because that's funny. I've had a couple guys, my brother even got one of his buddies into that too. But
Yeah.
I was just wanting to chill for a second. Well, good news, you don't have to, man.
That's right. So within months, our battalion was trained and ready to go, and we shipped out to Okinawa first for 2.5 to 3 months, so the Marines could go through just some.
Yeah, they left y'all there for a while, right?
Yeah, 3 months, Camp Hansen. They had set up, a little town so the Marines could, practice assault and urban combat. And man, that was wild. I had to tell you, the adrenaline rush you were talking about on Pendleton, they take me on some night raids, hey, Doc, let's go. And, they were going to simulate some injured Marines and have us do some casevacs and things like that. And man, it was like living in a movie. But I didn't know I was quite ready for this movie. It was just a whirlwind from being in this prestigious medical school, Tulane, which I just love to death and have nothing but great things to say about, to boom, now you're in the military, put on the uniform, and you're ready, got to live this life. And then 9/11 in Iraq, and it happened in such short order.
There's no good.
Yeah.
Skipped a bunch of, right? Yeah.
No trend. You just can't prepare for that. As much as you train and prepare for war and going into that combat environment, for me especially, you're a trained warrior. But I know this now. I didn't know it then. I thought I was, prepared to the nth degree. And, I talk about this in the book a little bit because all of it's hindsight. But going back, I wasn't as fully prepared as I could have been or should have been type thing. And that hit me as I was going deeper and deeper into deployment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Well, this is what this is. I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
This is how we explain. Imagine everything we'd ever been taught in those schools. We are trained professionals.
Mm-hmm.
You went through that academy. This is just as hard as what we had to go through. That mind, because it'll beat your body up just as well. So imagine everything we ever learned was sitting there, like just tacked in.
Yeah.
And war drives all that in there.
Yeah.
I mean, hits every one of those tacks. And when it comes home, you're like, oh, now I know. Because the reading and applying and even going over it in the field stuff, that's one thing. But when you have to step in there and get after it, I mean, I'll never forget when they looked at us, our uniforms were still brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take long for them to get messed up and what they were supposed to look like, kind of deal. I'll never forget that, why that resonates in my head. But I remember that when all of us showed up.
And when the S hits the fan, you have this, I explain it as this file drawer of skills. For me, it's medical skills that it's there and you got to access it. And sometimes it takes a minute to remember how to access it, but you do, because that's what you're trained for. And it clicks in. But man, sometimes just this pause and like, wow, is this real? Number one. And I did that many times. I won't lie, just entering this world of from being a trained healer. That was my main mission, a healer. But yet I've got a 9mm pistol strapped to my vest right next to my scalpel, and I'm trained how to use it. Had to. I was thankful for that. By the way, I also grabbed a couple of Marines and said, hey, show me how to use that M16. I might need it. Of course, they showed me. And so this world, this dichotomy, this juxtaposition was really wild for me as we went deeper into, the deployment into Fallujah. And then ultimately, my battalion was one of the 2 battalions spearheading that initial attack in the first battle of Fallujah.
Crazy. Keep going. This is good stuff. Man, I keep going.
All right. Here's when I like this part of the story because I don't know how often it happened. Our battalion flew from Okinawa, a couple pit stops into Kuwait. And then we were one of the first Marine Corps battalions turning over with the Army because things weren't going well. And it was kind of like, all right, Marines, you're up. That was my interpretation of it. And General Mattis was the, 1st Marine Division commanding officer. So anyways, we knew we were heading into Fallujah. And so from Kuwait, the entire battalion assembles, and for a week we did convoy training, convoy
Yeah.
ops.
Yeah, they dropped us in K&B too. We've been through there.
Yeah,
Built up now.
it was like the Wild West.
Yeah.
That's how when
Felt like
people
that
ask
too,
me,
didn't it?
It felt like the Wild West, like ghost town, not ghost towns, because some of them were ramping up, not ramping down. But you would, our convoy took 3 days, 50 to 75 vehicles, bullets and band-aids, everything to sustain that battalion to do anything, which was just unbelievable to me, what the United States military could mobilize and then put on wheels.
Pretty cool machine, isn't it?
Unbelievable. And so for 3 days, we'd make these pit stops at ghost towns, Western towns, I call them, for fuel, sleep on the ground, sleep in the back of the ambulance, and then gear up and we're going again. Stop for IEDs. And then the second night, never forget it, I'm sleeping in the back of the Humvee.
Also, the Humvees were like the old school Humvees,
Yeah.
not the new ones. They were
Yeah.
open.
Oh yeah, no, chop
You know
tops.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Hell, we would chop tops, just take doors off.
Yeah.
I was say when you said IEDs, because there was a shift throughout the years from
Yeah.
when the beginning, when we would roll slick or naked, as opposed to
Naked.
triple armor, quad up on the sides.
Yes.
Behold.
From the first deployment for me, which was 2003 and 4 to 2008, my second, it was night and day.
Night and day.
The vehicles,
Completely
the
opposite.
technology. Wow. It was impressive.
Completely opposite. And that's when we went back knowing.
Yes.
What,
This episode of the podcast brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union, and you guys know that because they've been taking care of us for the last 2 years, and they will take care of you too when you become a member of Navy Federal Credit Union. Life gets better. If you've ever bought a car or truck or SUV or whatever kind of vehicle floats your boat, then you know that sometimes it can be intimidating, frustrating, irritating, hair-pulling outing. I don't even know if that's a word, but that's how you feel when you go buy a car. But that is not how it has to be when you go with Navy Federal Credit Union. That's why they created a fully loaded car buying experience. You can finance, buy, protect, and enjoy your auto purchase all through one convenient place. They have low rates and pre-approval that's good for 90 days, so you know you can afford while you shop. You can even save thousands off your MSRP with Navy Federal's car buying service, powered by TrueCar. And Navy Federal Credit Union is not just for military members. It is for families. It is for retired military members, anywhere from the Department of Defense to the Army to the Marines to the Coast Guard and family members. You too can take advantage of what Navy Federal Credit Union's got for their customers. You can learn more at Navy Federal.
I mean, there are times when I thought we overtech. They give us that text and we make it quick.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we can overtech ourselves to where, what's our bottom line? We're supposed to go in here and whip them. All right, I don't need all this to do that.
Yeah.
I just need that guy right there and just,
Yeah.
get us in there and get that done. And then it just started going so dynamic. It's like we turned into our own thing.
Yeah. And I can see that for you, just the little bit of extra gear that's weighing you down. That's not good. For me, in medicine, we want the best, most advanced capabilities we can possibly have at all times. And the Marine Corps motto, among many, is to do more with less.
Yeah, of course.
That wasn't my motto. So I was trying to adapt to this whole motto. And, when we went on deployment, they said, all right, Doc, here's your cans, metal cans. This is what you get to fit your medical supplies in. And I just looked and said, oh my gosh, for 1,000 guys, and how do I figure this out? And that's where I'd grab some of those senior Navy corpsmen and say, hey, Chief, come here. How do we fill this thing for war? But we did it, we just got it out and make lists, and everything we had was in those cans, more with less. And it worked.
That was first deployment. I remember going out the door, I had everything. Everything got issued.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I have there with one bag and
Yeah.
do more with less kind of deal. That also comes with it, that experience. Because once we started, the tourniquets actually do work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't absolutely occlude it unless you have a cargo. I mean, those little things that we picked up going through that field training, because whatever y'all would teach us down, then we would have to bastardize it to make it work in the field. Just like you did. That's the best internship or residency you had was war.
Yes. 1,000%.
Because now you cut through. It's cool to have that Gucci stuff, but I mean, so you can bare naked that and get in there and do what it does.
Yep.
That's the cool part. I remember seeing all the docs, especially after a long time, they had that. Y'all get a different look. it's not a 1,000-yard stare because you're not looking that far. You look,
Yeah.
it's weird. You can
Yeah.
always tell when you got it, man. It's like,
Yeah, you just increase the level of calmness you can have under fire, so to speak, or just in tough situations.
but it's not a jaded thing.
No.
There's a huge difference. It's
Yeah.
just like, and that brings peace to us.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the docs, and they rolled this kid and had been shot through the face. I mean, it was bad. And he was sitting there talking to me, dealing with it. He's like,
Yeah.
Because once you learn how everything works and responds, that knowledge,
right.
yeah, man, it's just crazy.
And it's not an overconfidence thing either. It's just a skill.
Competence, yeah.
I've told Katie, because we've been at a couple community or even family events where a family member went down or passed out, or I've been on a plane a couple times. Is there a doctor in the house? And she's,
no, get say that, man.
I said, hey, when this thing, when someone calls, just give me a 1,000, 2,000, 300, 5 count, just a 5 count, because some stuff happens and some hysterics go out the door in those first 5 to 10 seconds. And then I can move in and things have cleared out and I can start doing what I do. So anyways, that's just like you were saying, you learn those little things that help you in those intense environments. So to Katie's point, as we're rolling up towards Fallujah, and we make these stops, we're grabbing up armor and we're, commandeering. And my corpsman would grab some metal plates and throw them back of the ambulance and say, hey, Doc, here's a little metal for you, because they were just these thin, walls on the Humvees. So that was the way it was. I think we were learning as we went a little bit. The military was learning in the environment and understanding the enemy, and we were figuring it out, and we were ramping up just like back in the days of World War I and II, increasing production and getting the equipment out to the troops. So it was kind of bare bones back then. The one night I was going to mention where it all came full circle is it's pitch black, and out there in Iraq, it's the blackest black night I've ever seen. And I'd climb up through the cab into the front, my corpsmen are driving, and I look out on the horizon, and there's the fire rigs, those incendiary little evil flames, way out in the distance that Saddam had lit on fire. And I just thought to myself, okay, this is, if I didn't believe it's real, this is real. That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
We're not going away from that. We're going towards it.
This episode of the podcast brought to you guys by Purple. If you feel like the world is against you from getting sleep at night, you're probably not wrong. Whether it's the crickets outside of your window, and in my case, the weird frogs that sound like, sheep. They sound like sheep. It's the most bizarre thing. That's the kind of thing that's keeping me up at night. But for you, it could be cars passing by, trains, people in your house that think it's okay to stay up till 3 a.m. playing video games. Whatever it may be, you might not be getting the sleep you're looking for. But when you have a Purple mattress, you can sleep cool and comfortable no matter what the world throws at you. And that's because only Purple mattresses have the grid. I should have used my movie voice there, huh? Its unique ventilated design allows air to flow through to help you sleep cool even when it feels like 1,000 degrees outside. We know about that in Texas, right? And the grid is amazingly supportive for your back and legs while cushioning your shoulders, your neck, your hips, no matter how you sleep. And unlike memory foam, which remembers everything, the grid bounces back as you move and shifts, so you never get that I'm stuck feeling you do with memory foam. They actually sent me one of the Purple pillows, and I had never thought to try it. And for the last 30 years of my life, I have suffered from crappy pillow syndrome. And the Purple pillow that they sent me, the grid design is amazing. I hear Marcus and Morgan talking about them all the time because these pillows are incredible. It's kind of funny. The pillow is kind of heavy. It's got that grid system, so it's going to keep you really, really cool at night. And the big thing for me has been I've always had a kind of a struggle finding a pillow that was both supportive enough and soft enough to feel comfortable. And that pillow does it all. I want you guys to try Purple mattress risk-free with free shipping and returns. They've even got financing, and they're going to take care of you guys. Purple is comfort reinvented. Right now, you're going to get 10% off any order of $200 more. Go to purple.com/TNQ. Use our promo code TNQ. That's purple.com/TNQ. Promo code TNQ for 10% off any order of $200 or more. If you're looking for some new pillows, I promise they're going to change the way you sleep. It is incredible. Purple.com/TNQ. Promo code TNQ. Terms apply.
When you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, TV does a great job at a lot of things, man, but there's just something different. because the smell's there too.
Yeah.
And all
Yes.
those, when all those are activated together, it kind of creates this,
It does.
man, I'll never forget rolling in there on the first time either. It's almost if when the war machine goes in, that everybody back here just pauses for a second
Mhm.
and lets us get in there bare bones it to figure out what's what,
Yeah.
get acclimated
Yeah.
back. Because a lot of times they throw all that tech. We went in Vietnam tech, like the
Mhm.
flak jackets, it's kind of in the stuff in the beginning.
Mhm.
And then some of that stuff was too heavy. It didn't operate this. And then you see now after 20 years of war, what these operators have now, it's so slick and maneuverable, the med
Yeah.
bags. I mean, all that stuff. It's just the tourniquets, the Ashman chest seal, that whole thing, all kind of, and that's because people getting out there and bleeding.
Yep.
I mean, it is in itself a teaching tool,
Yep.
especially for the medical profession.
Absolutely, 100%. Those, after action reports, which, I was able to come home and, talk about lessons learned and things like that. And nothing can change what you do more than that real life experience. And so you're right. They've streamlined a lot of things in the medical field.
You need to have one of those old leather. She buys me journals every year so I can write in with old paper on it. It's like, this is the field surgeon. Like that. If you have this at hand, slap it on. Like that kitchen sink medicine that we had to figure out when you're out in the middle of nowhere and people are getting hurt.
Yeah.
Because that stuff does work.
Did you have quick clot?
Oh, yeah.
On your part of your
Not,
game?
it came in cycles because the initial would burn on the outside. Right. So they were like, oh, you got to cut it open. I'm like, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then the other stuff had the seashells and the shrimp that they had to crystallized in there. And so you had to cut that away. So that was causing more problems for y'all. So then they changed it. And then it went from everything from Vaseline dressing to all the way down.
Yeah.
The best now is that foam, right? You just put that sucker in there, hit him with that, and then give him that fentanyl lollipop taped to his hand and get his ass to you.
We didn't have that.
That was our protocol.
Yeah.
I could sit on him for 72 hours with a water hose and a pocket knife. But other than that, it was all you, Doc.
But knowing that each one of you had those skills, had to be just an immense amount of confidence in your
It was. And we got that from y'all. We were trained by y'all. In my rotations, it was military doctors.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 had just dropped. And so we were kind of sitting there and they looked at us and they're like, let me teach you something. And they would pull us in. And we had carte blanche. That was the best training. It's almost like getting in a jet with a pilot to see where he drops bombs so you can call him in.
Yeah.
Once y'all started talking to us and we understood your language, Greek,
mm-hmm.
then you would dumb it down for us.
Yeah.
And then it was easy day.
And a lot of it can be dumbed down, as technical as it can be. You're right. It can be, a little bit like fixing a car on a little more technical level, but for sure you can dumb it down. And in the end, as far as the major causes of battlefield trauma and death, not a lot's changed since World War I and II, Stop the bleeding, support the airway,
absolutely 100%.
Promote circulation.
It was so cool because I remember when y'all would yell at us, it's like, man, just tell me what to say it easy. And you'd be like, do that. And I'm like, all right. And I didn't remember the big words until a younger kid came in and I was trying to sound, I was like, all right, this is what this is, son. But yeah, for the knowledge that y'all have going in there, and it's not. I don't mean to say dumb it down. It's like you just learn how to speak a different language.
That's right.
Like translate Greek into whatever works in here.
Yeah.
And those teachers that can do that made it so much more easy for us to operate.
Yeah. Just like good doctors stateside, those that can translate this complex situation into something understandable for the patients. That's the doctor you want, the ones that you gravitate to.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially back here when they come out and reading all that stuff off the paper and no one knows what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're supposed to break this down to a children's book when you're delivering it to me, right? Don't do this, do that.
Okay, so you are in the Humvee. It's pitch black at night.
Yeah.
You're approaching a true battlefield for the first time. What will take us back to that?
Yeah, so those 3 days were just kind of an onslaught of emotions and energy, good energy. I at this point I just wanted to get it done. I had come to that point where I'm sure every military member does, every warrior does, where you realize I just need to get the job done. I just need to get to the next day and the next day and the next, because the only way I'm going home, earning the right to go home, is by finishing the mission. So that was giving me some adrenaline and really just pushing me forward. We made it up to Fallujah. Our FOB was a small little camp that Saddam had used, they said, as a terrorist training camp. I think it was about a 1/4 mile in circumference. They call it Camp Mercury at the time. Changed the name over the years. Small little FOB. And we turn over with the Army, do left seat, right seat. for about 5 days, learning our new jobs, and we get to lay the land, and then we're on our own. I think it was the third night there. I'm in the ping pong tent with Captain McCall. I made some of my best friends, to this day, who are Marine Corps officers. Captain Jamie McCall was one of them. Mike Butler was there too. We're playing ping pong, and I'm sitting on the sideline watching the game. I hear a little thud in the distance. Nothing, maybe thunder. And that thud becomes a pretty significant boom, like maybe a large truck backfired out behind the wall. And then the next one, like it landed on our head. It was mortars, and they were just kind of sequencing in. And so then, it's chaos. The tent clears. I grab my flak, miss my weapon. Of course, that's in my head. I can't leave my weapon. But we're trying to exit the tent because they're dropping. And it's pitch black. I can't see outside. I didn't have time to get my light on. I grab Cormac's, his shirt sleeve, and he's saying, "We got to get to the battalion aid station." I said, "I left my weapon." He said, "Leave it." I said, "All right." I realized that was more important to get to, to a hardened structure. So that was opening night into the mortar attacks. And that was the first time I knew and felt what it was like to have somebody out there want to kill me. And that's really the only way I can describe it. It was the first time my brain recognized that gravity, that person wanted me dead out there.
Oh, there's a shift. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
If that's never happened to you, I'm not even talking about sketch. I'm talking about it was personal.
Yeah.
There's difference.
That's right. And those mortars became a regular experience, for our entire deployment.
Didn't y'all make a shirt after it? Had all every night like a rock concert. I saw a couple of those bebopping around.
That's a good one. I think I have seen that shirt.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It had the night on it and how many shells came in and stuff, which was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant.
And we did kind of make games at it. That's how you get through these kind of things. My corpsman would teach me how to understand, how far the mortars were landing by the sounds. They didn't hit inside the walls for a while of our little base. And, fortunately, they weren't very good at aiming. They'd drive in little trucks in the middle of the night and shoot them out of the trucks and then, scurry away. And I grabbed, one of the Marine Corps officers and I said, "How come we can't get those guys? What's our deal? We're in the United States." He said, "Well, don't worry. We're tracking them down. We're getting locked on. And, the counter artillery we'd hear going out from the next base over, which was called the MEC at that time. So they would track the incoming and then send out counter battery. Nevertheless, you couldn't stop them. Couldn't stop these mortars or rockets. They just kind of lob them in. So anyways, we're there for just a few weeks. And then one night get called to the COC, Command Operations Center. And I knew it's something big, didn't know what. And we get in there, it's about 15 officers, myself, Lieutenant O'Connor, and General Mattis. He flies in, and then he walks in the room, tension on deck, all that kind of thing. And this was like being in a movie for sure. The Fallujah battlefields up on a projector screen. I've got a little dip in my lip. Did that a few times with the Marines. And I feel that, that adrenaline rush again. And General Mattis comes in and gives orders to the officers of how it's going to go down in Fallujah starting the next day. So that's a night the battalion got orders to attack Fallujah. And then during that time, the battalion commander told me where we'd be positioned, which was at a position called the Cloverleaf. Do you remember that position,
Mm-hmm.
Marcus? Yeah. So I figured you would. It was, the most tactical position for us at the Cloverleaf, which they call it because from above it, the freeway on-ramp and off-ramp looked like a cloverleaf. And they pushed us out to the Cloverleaf as the attack was commencing into Fallujah and set up our field battalion aid station right there. And that's when things got wild from a medical standpoint at the Cloverleaf.
How long did that take?
To push out to the Cloverleaf?
No, by the time when y'all got to the Cloverleaf to when the first guy came back.
Or as a casualty?
Yeah.
We were there just for...
It wasn't very long, right?
No, not 24, 48 hours.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. We set up shop. I was at the main base just for the first 24 to 48 hours. Lieutenant O'Connor went out, and then we would change out.
Yeah.
Him and I. A convoy would come through, and we'd change out. And man, that was wild because everything was happening at the Cloverleaf. You know, amphibious assault vehicles were coming through, tanks were coming through, Cobra attack helicopters coming in, you know, laying down rounds, and Marines pushing in, you know, and the battle's just right there. And again, as a physician, I get there and I'm just going, all right, God, I knew that I signed up for some of this, but really? And I just had to kind of sometimes laugh, sometimes cry, you know, because again, I just was having a tough time reconciling with my fate, and I wasn't accepting it all the way. And, you know, I felt tough and like I was doing my duty, but I hadn't fully accepted being there and being in harm's way as much as I was. We received some rockets. One of them hit so close that it knocked us off our feet. It hit right on the on-ramp or off-ramp, whichever one it was. And, you know, the smoke's coming wafting through and stuff like that. And this was kind of comical. We all dove in the back of the ambulance, one on top of another, like a rugby team. And then, hey, you good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Peel off type thing. So those times for me personally, emotionally, and spiritually, and, you know, of course, I read about this in the book, was when I was just really struggling to kind of keep together. And I did outwardly, but inwardly was not doing as well as I wanted to be at the Cloverleaf.
It's tough, man. When it's almost as if it's that moment when the old you is kind of that moral. Well, he's about to die, because when war kicks off, the other transition, you can't have, both of them can't exist, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like, well, that's terrible. And I was like, yeah, in the beginning, it's hard. It is. But then everyone always looking back on it, what the knowledge and wisdom you gain from it, it can only happen one way, from the beginning to upward.
That's right.
So
there's only one way to go.
I was like, all right, we got to start at the base. This is probably it. At the bottom, you know, go from there. And I was like, all right. And then every day.
So if I can, I'll tell you about kind of what turned it around. And the event that turned it around was the first major battlefield death in the book. That's Lieutenant Jackson. So we're getting, you know, the Marines are brought to us after the line corpsmen in the field did what they could, and then they'd bring them to us at the Cloverleaf, usually by Humvee. Sometimes radio contact telling us, sometimes out of nowhere. And casualties come in. We had some litter stands set up, some stretchers. In the beginning, we didn't even have that, so we were on the ground. And Lieutenant Jackson comes in, and he just looks horrible.
You come in on wheels or rotor?
Wheels.
Oh.
Wheels. And by the way, I changed some of the names just to
I
protect some of these Marines. So it's Lieutenant Jackson. He comes in, he looks bad, and just from the moment they bring him out of the Humvee, I'm thinking, my God, how's this Marine even alive? How is this even possible? Should it all end here? Because I know he has a severe head wound. I just know his chance of having any meaningful life are extremely dim. And, you know, I'm even thinking, you know, what should I do type thing. And within seconds, I know the answer is we've got to proceed all out efforts, everything we can do, because every person here, every Marine needs to see us doing that for each and every one of them. They don't want to see anything less than that. So we go to work.
That's how you say that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people won't say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because they've never been in one of those. I mean, that's right. That's one point.
Yeah. Yeah. They got to see nothing less. So we go to work on the ground. And it's wild. Battles in the background, helicopters flying above. And so I was trying to describe what it's like to practice, you know, casualty combat care, field medicine in this environment. And I described it as, it's like ballet with a bull, because you've got this beast, this animal. And by the way, I went to this PBR rodeo and they gave me a wonderful award, and they loved that line. Ballet with a bull, said it over the microphone. That was in Sioux Falls. You've got this beast, the war animal, and everything that's going on around it. And then you've got to practice this, you know, what I consider almost an art, medicine. And I think it's beautiful in its own way. You got to learn to work within it and understand it, you know, to be able to control it and operate in it. It's like those bull riders do, performing their ballet. So
that's a good one.
Isn't that good?
That's good. I heard throwing him in a dryer and try to wipe your ass with your elbow.
That's good.
That's what the surgeon told me. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Y'all come up with the best ones.
So we do everything we can for Lieutenant Jackson. And Marcus, we have to do a surgical airway crike. And it was very challenging. We were successful, thank God, because that's the last thing I wanted, to do is try to, get an airway established and not do it, because it's clear when it doesn't work. But we did it, and we got the bag hooked up, providing, artificial respirations, and got my corpsman around me, and in not to, it's only minutes, but he doesn't make it. And so, I realize when it's over, and I give the order to, hey, stop resuscitative efforts. He's gone. And we all just we're in a circle, oval, and we all just kind of lean back on our haunches, kind of like an elephant kneeling down, and instinctively just put our arms around each other. And there was an AP photographer at the Cloverleaf that day. I had no clue, they just come and go type thing. And he snapped a photo. That's the one in the book, and it's been in a number of circulations. You may have seen it. Very powerful. And I just lead a prayer. Didn't know exactly what to say, but the corpsman and the Marines got the point, and I just prayed for honor and strength and the ability to go on in the fight and stand up for our brother who died here today. And that was it. And then I said, let's get up, get ready for the next. And we did. And everybody performed bravely, and it was a horrible, tragic moment, but it was also a beautiful moment.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the podcast. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, anywhere you get your shows. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Dr. Wilkes, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. Loved every minute.